Good dog, and welcome to the next episode of Travel Through Legends of Europe. And today, I am very excited because in our last adventure, we're going to be interpreting one of my favorite stories in a new and exciting storytelling method, an interactive storyboard. So, let's take a look at our trusty map to see where our last stop will be. So today, it looks like we're going to be traveling up north from Ireland to Scandinavia, which is located in Northern Europe. Now, Scandinavia is part of a region of countries that are tied together by its strong historical, cultural, and linguistic bonds. This area is known as the Nordic region. Now, Scandinavia is only made up by the three kingdoms of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, because they share special similarities in language, cultural heritage, and of course, stories. Did you know that Christopher Columbus was not the first European to explore the American continent? Instead, it was a group of Scandinavians that you may know as Vikings. In fact, a lot of the words that we use in the English language are influenced by Old Norse, the language of the Vikings. For example, Thursday comes from Thor's day, named after Thor, or Thor, the Norse god of thunder. And speaking of Thor, that leads us to today's story. Late one night, while all the gods of Asgard slept, Loki, the god of mischief, had a great idea for a prank. He would slip into the bedroom chambers of Thor's beautiful wife Sif and cut off her golden locks. When the gods woke the next day, they heard two voices. First, being the loud cries of Sif mourning the loss of her hair. And the second was Thor's booming voice as he held Loki in his massive hands, threatening to break every bone in his body. Loki, being the cunning god that he was, saved himself from his brother's wrath by explaining that he could fix Sif's hair with ease. He just had to convince a special group of people, the dwarves, master smiths that could make anything. So Loki made haste to the realm of Nidavellir, home of the dwarves, and on his way, he conjured up a plan to con the smiths into fixing his mistakes. Once he arrived, he knocked on the door of the masterful sons of Ivaldi. Greeting the dwarves, he told them that their rivals, a pair of brothers named Brock and Atri, had just declared that they were the best craftsmen in the world and that they were willing to prove it in a competition judged by the gods themselves. The rules were simple, that each family had to create 3 gifts for the gods, including a suitable replacement for Sif's golden hair. Having convinced the sons of Ivaldi, Loki then made a visit to Brock and Atri, telling them the same story with one difference. He declared that the sons of Ivaldi had issued the challenge. However, Brock and Atri were not easily fooled by the cunning god, and after a whispering exchange with one another, they agreed to the challenge, but with one tiny condition. They would only participate if Loki would put his head on the line, literally. Loki would have to forfeit his head to the brothers if they won. Having no other choice, Loki agreed to the terms. But now, he had to find a way to save himself, and that meant not letting Brock and Atri win, no matter what. It took no time at all for the dwarves to get to work on their special creations. Atri set Brock to mend the bellows and warned him not to stop for any reason or the treasures would be ruined. It was not long after when a strange little black fly flew into the workroom and watched the 2 craftsmen. As a piece of pigskin was placed in the forge, The fly quickly made its way closer and landed on Brock's hand, stinging him. But Brock did not flinch. Then, while Atri worked on a piece of gold, the fly bit Brock on the neck, but still the dwarf did not react. Finally, as Atri placed a piece of iron in the furnace, the fly landed on Brock's eyelid and bit as hard as he could, and for a split second, Brock's hand left the bellows. And in that moment, their final treasure was ruined, for it did not stay in the fire long enough. At this realization, Loki transformed back to his normal form, ecstatic over the failure. Time was up, and the dwarves had no choice but to present the flawed gift. Back in Asgard, Loki first presented the treasures made by the sons of Ivaldi. The first gift was Sif's golden hair. The hair bounded to Sif's head and continued to grow, leaving her even more beautiful than before. Next, for Odin, the All-Father, a magnificent spear that could pierce through anything. Lastly, for Freyr, the god of the harvest, a small cloth that, when unfolded, became a mighty ship. Next, Brock presented the treasures made by him and his brother. For Freyr, they made a golden boar who'd pull his chariot faster than any steed. For Odin, a golden armed ring that made 8 more rings on every 9th night to expand his riches. And for Thor, a hammer called Mjolnir. Thor noticed that the handle was too short and was concerned if such a weapon would work in battle. But then Brock revealed its abilities. Mjolnir would never shatter, will never miss its target, and will always return to Thor's hand when thrown. Despite the small defect, the gods all agreed this was the best gift of all. Remembering his deal with the dwarves, Loki tried to sneak out, but Thor stopped him before he could escape. Before the brothers could have their reward, clever Loki pointed out that they won the rights to his head, but not his neck, and thus had no right to cut it. Brock wanted to reason with Odin, but the All-Father admitted that Loki spoke the truth. Loki may have kept his head, but Brock would have the last laugh. Taking his brother's awl, he pierced it through Loki's lips and sewed his mouth shut so the god could no longer spread his wicked tricks. Yet the gods could never deny that if it wasn't for Loki's tricks, they would not have had their fine treasures, and Thor would not have had the hammer that he is known for today. Oh, Loki, you never seem to get out of trouble, but that's why we love you. Today's library recommendations will explore the Scandinavian culture. Once again, from the juvenile nonfiction section, we have my favorite series, Horrible Histories, by Terry Deary. This one's titled Vicious Vikings. From our primary fiction collection, we have a retelling of all the Norse mythology stories, including today's story, titled Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. From our young adult fiction collection, we have, by the same author of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Rick Riordan, we have the series Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard. And for all the Marvel fans that consider Thor their favorite superhero, you may enjoy a movie night watching Marvel Studios' Thor, located in our media section. As you come pick up these materials on the main library from Monday through Thursday, 10 to 6, Friday and Saturdays, 10 to 2, feel free to pick up a packet, Write Like a Viking, an activity sheet that will teach you how to use the Viking rune alphabet. You may solve a secret message or write a secret message to your friends. As we conclude the second installment of Travel Through Legends of, we at Gaston County Public Library would like to thank you for joining us. Ha dobra! Vi ses!